Good evening, Dean John Janis, administrators, faculty, friends, family, guests, and the graduating class of 2012. Welcome to the 2012 ITT Technical Institute College Commencement Ceremony. I would also like to take a brief pause to honor the faculty members, Professor Joseph Palermo and Barbara Hammer, who ended their time with us and are unfortunately no longer with us today. As I look out into the crowd before me, I sense a wave of emotions from everyone present. From family and friends, the sense of pride you must have in your graduate's accomplishments is immense. You parents have a sense of joy in knowing the child you have raised earned a college degree, and brothers and sisters have gained a whole new sense of respect for the person who was your best friend growing up, or maybe your worst enemy. But nothing can top the feelings that we graduates have right now. I remember the first steps I made onto the Austin ITT campus. I had made one phone call and asked to speak to a recruiter. During our only meeting, she made her pitch and finally got to the point where it was now time to take a tour of the campus. I informed her that it was not necessary, for I had already made the decision to invest in myself, my education, and my future before attending the meeting, and no tour was going to make or break that decision. I started my journey with ITT 4 years ago, before the remodel, and looking back, I wonder if maybe I should have taken that tour after all. Needless to say, the campus looks much better than it did before. I'm going to ask that you bear with me for a brief moment while I indulge in my personal history. It is my sophomore year, and I would find myself missing classes for a week with intense headaches that nearly paralyzed me and any ability I had. A week later, I found myself in the doctor's office for a second time as he was calling the ambulance to rush me to the Stigma hospital with what he believed to be symptoms of meningitis. Then suddenly I was in the ICU where a doctor would enter from behind the curtain and confirm the diagnosis that I had tested positive for meningitis and required fast action if I was to have any chance to survive. Believe it or not, this was not the worst news I would find out. He would follow this statement with one that I will never forget, and one that would change my life even more, forever. He informed me the type of meningitis I had was non-communicable and was only found in those with a compromised immune system. After another test, he informed me that I was HIV positive. During my 2-week recovery season, I would further research my condition using my stats and actual immune cell numbers, and I was given by the doctors. And I discovered that I was not only HIV positive, but in fact had AIDS. This was the lowest point in my life. My mother would later tell me that she was most concerned because during those 2 weeks, the doctors weren't able to tell her if I would live or not. I survived the meningitis with all of my limbs, and luckily, with advancements in technology and medicine, I was also informed that an AIDS diagnosis is no longer a death sentence, and I still had a chance of recovery if I could overcome the meningitis. Obviously, I did, since I'm here with you today. Had these events happened to me 10 or even 5 years ago, I would not be here standing before you today. Let me clearly state that my openness in communicating about my personal story is in no way an attempt to gain your sympathies. The only reason for my opening up and allowing you into my story is in hopes that you may use it to allow yourself to reach your full potential in life, as I have done so far, and hopefully to enable you to do so without having to hit the lowest point in your life, as I did. Should you need to hit rock bottom, I beg of you to look back on my triumph and know that it's never over until it's over. For me, what is done, and I have learned more than I ever could about myself through my experiences. For today, I stand in front of you all as your valedictorian and in the best health, both physically and emotionally, that I've ever been. To share something I learned at a young age from a wise woman and a true survivor of her circumstance that also happens to be my mother, Renee Owens. It is not what happens to you that matters. It's how you deal with it that matters. As students, I hope we have learned a primary lesson from each other. Be resilient. Upon entering college, we faced one of the biggest economic downturns in the U.S. since the Great Depression. Many of us saw our parents lose their jobs, drop out of school, and many of us doubted whether we would make it here today graduating. We are called Generation Now in reference to having any answer at our fingertips. Yet, during our college career, we've experienced situations we could not solve. We couldn't solve the economic crisis, and we can't deny the fear of leaving school and not knowing what the future holds. To quote Marianne Williamson, social activist and founder of Pizza Lines and Meals on Wheels, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? We all have the capacity of doing something great. We have already proven that through our attendance here today. We should never underestimate the power we have to be successful, and we should never take for granted the opportunities we've been given. Success starts when instead of giving up, you give your all, because clear eyes, full hearts can't lose. Congratulations, graduates.